But in the general election, the issues will be different than they are right now.
Who knows? I agree with you.
There's a better chance of that.
I can't tell you what the issues
No, we won't know.
If, God forbid, there's another attack on the homeland, yes, once again, it could be keeping us safe.
But what's since we were talking about the nastiness, and I think the nastiness, I wonder if the nastiness that we're seeing on the campaign trail isn't because they're so used to it here and it's just bubbling up. I mean, it's just a way they're used to behaving in Washington, and now they're taking it on the road. Today's or this week's arguments are that Hillary started it, and Hillary's people are saying Obama started it. But do you think there's one person who started it?
Yeah, but it's the chicken and egg effect. Where does it start? Yeah. I maintain it started with us all in the country. We didn't, nice people that we are, getting along in our communities, send a bunch of people to Congress and discover that they're all nincompoops when it comes to getting along. We sent them to Congress with mixed messages. You cut my taxes, but not my subsidies. Yeah. I want that money. I'm the farmer in the Midwest. I need the $26 billion. On the other hand, you get those taxes down. Well, how can you do that? That's not possible. I see these people up there. They get off the floor having given the speech on behalf of their constituents, shaking their head. I mean, I think we in the country. And secondly, you know, they've come to some agreements in Detroit, and it's wrenching. The auto worker can't make $65 an hour with pension and benefits anymore. Going to make $35. His son's going to get a job at a Toyota plant in Tennessee, make $22. To be competitive in a world that has changed. We no longer rule the world. We no longer, after World War II, can say, well, so let it be written, so let it be done. And this is wrenching for every one of us. We don't want to do it. We want to still be in command.
But are you hearing that from any of the candidates? Are you hearing that out there?
No, because it's tough to say.
I mean, do you think any of them
Poor Jimmy Carter once tried it in a speech, and you saw what that got him. Yeah, he was labeled the Malaise speech, and he was before his time.
Well, who do you think is succeeding out there right now? I'm not talking about who you think is going to win, but who do you think is playing the game at varsity level?
Well, many of them. I'm really, let me shift. I sound like I'm very cynical here about politics or politicians. I think on both sides, we have a fairly representative good crop. You can always pick someone and say, well, that person should be running. I understand that. Too late now. Those who want to win have to get into it.
Almost too late for Bloomberg now, too. I mean,
yeah, and my hunch is he won't do it. He wants to do it. I don't blame him. Hey, wouldn't want to be president.
But didn't this primary calendar sort of mess up the...
Well, he can still get on the ballots after Super Tuesday.
But the momentum, you know, look, okay, explain Giuliani. I mean, there was some weird strategizing.
He has to decide whether the people who are going to be nominated are ones that he can't beat.
Right.
Or whether they're ones that we're so dissatisfied with that we're looking for a third person with a little cash, a few $1 billion to help us out.
Right.
My hunch is, if it's any of the people that I think might be nominated, I think Senator Obama, Senator Clinton might be nominated, one of them, and I think Mitt Romney or John McCain might be nominated, one of them. If any of that combination works, I don't think he'll get in.
It's harder for Bloomberg.
It's harder for Bloomberg. But if, you know, Governor Huckabee, I have high regard for Governor Huckabee. I was raised in the Baptist church, dipped in the drainage ditch. We did not have a formal baptistry, so I'm not whipping it on the Baptists without having some. But we're not going to elect an ordained Baptist minister president.
Do you think he's in it much longer?
No. That's what I mean.
We're almost down to the final four, so to speak.
I believe that's the case.
Yeah, and then do you think
Well, let me just say, I left one name out.
Yes.
If Mayor Giuliani wins Florida, he's a contender, no question about it. His strategy all along has been, I'll wait and win Florida.
Yeah.
He's laid down that marker. Okay, Mayor, you better do it. Don't say, well, I came in a close second. It won't work. You either win Florida or you're headed for the showers.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, and I've occasionally been
wrong.
wrong.
And you're going to, well, but you can stick to it. The criticisms that have been leveled at Bill Clinton, have they been, and I mean, I could list them, but I think, you know, I think everybody knows.
Where do you want to start?
Where do we want to start?
When he was governor of Arkansas, or do you want to start
let's just go over, let's just do the last month.
No.
But that he's running for his wife, that he's gone too negative. That,
he's gone negative, yes.
Are these fair? I mean, is this...
It's a fair criticism, but it's been effective. Again, we're talking about politics now.
Well, that's why I'm asking how they're playing the game.
Be a nice guy and walk down the street and hope someday you will be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
He wants to see his wife elected president. Now, a lot of people say, well, then you should shut up. get out of the way. Now, there's something to be said about that.
Right.
On the other hand, he's an effective campaigner. Look what he did to some extent in New Hampshire. He suddenly raised the bar on Barack Obama, who had walked in on water to New Hampshire from Iowa. Now, you may not like this. It's a fairy tale about his record on Iraq. But he suddenly crystallized for people something that they would take a look at.
Yeah.
Whereas before, Senator Obama had just been able to waltz along,
Run unchanged.
strewing
Yeah.
roses and petals in his path. Now suddenly there was something to talk about. Bill Clinton did that. And he
Yeah.
did it with, when I say malice, he knew what he was doing.
Do
that
you-
wasn't just something that slipped out of his mouth.
They say the Clintons have no bottom in terms of how low they'll go to defeat. Do you believe that? You've been around
Well,
them?
I mean,
Are we
murder?
see-
I mean, what are you talking about? No
well,
bottom.
It's an expression.
Well,
but,
that's it. When people use expressions like
I
that,
know, I know.
if you're not just throwing it off, what do you mean? How low they will go? They're fighting very hard. Senator Obama started fighting in that debate I referred to the other night. It's a little late,
Yeah.
but maybe not too late.
maybe not too
Not
late.
too late. He's got to hit back. You can't just be standing there like a Cupid doll and smile. I watched two Democratic nominees do it.
Yeah.
Mike Dukakis and the last one out, John Kerry.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them, the other side started giving it to them right in the gut, and you could decide whether it was above the belt or right below the belt, and they just stood there. Oh, the American people won't believe that,
Can't
said
do that
Dukakis.
anymore.
And John Kerry went on his sailboat in August rather than fighting the swift boaters back.
Yeah. Why do you think the Republicans have avoided this kind of campaign so far? You know, that like the Democrats are just, eating each other up, and the Republicans seem to be, just standing over here running.
It's not a bad question, although if you look at their rhetoric, they have occasionally.
But
And in
it's-
South Carolina this time, actually, some of the same people that torpedoed John McCain 8 years ago tried it again. There were leaflets put out about how he abandoned his fellow prisoners of war in North Vietnam. When actually, when the North Vietnamese had offered him early release, because
Yeah.
they discovered his father was in charge of all U.S. forces, he refused early release, although he was physically being tortured, because he said, I won't go out without my buddies. But the truth never gets, it never stops people. They tried it, was not effective. In 2000, those kinds of things, we had a black baby.
Yeah, I
I'm not
remember
so
that.
certain that's a terrible thing, but I'm simply saying that that proved to be effective. So this time, it's a very good question. I agree with you. The Republicans have been more civil in general.
By doing nothing.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, but if it comes to the general election, they better get in there.
They're studying.
They
they're
better
studying
get in
what's-
there.
Yeah, they're
Where is Lee
studying.
Atwater when we need him?
You think even if Hillary doesn't get the nomination, Bill will just keep on running?
No. Listen, if we didn't have a 22nd Amendment, which I vigorously oppose, I think it's the most undemocratic thing in our Constitution, he would have been elected a third time, I think, quite clearly.
I have a feeling he probably
Yeah.
is. thought about
Eisenhower would have
that.
been elected a third
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
If he hadn't left town one step ahead of the sheriff, Nixon would have been elected for a third time. Ronald Reagan would be president until the day he died.
Since our theme here has been sort of on nastiness and whatnot, and the way media has changed.
Why do you think
Have
I'm
you-
an expert on
Well,
all that?
it just seems to be the message of the week. But have you seen this website that's up? That's presidential paintball, where you can go on this website and you can just click, and then you can shoot
Shoot at those,
candidates. You
right.
can be Hillary and you can shoot Obama,
Right.
or you can be Obama
Yeah.
and you can shoot John Edwards, or you can pick your candidates.
And that's mild today from what I understand,
Yeah.
from the standpoint you can do not only in the web, but in these games and the arcades and what have you.
Yeah.
Well, we've become it is a cruel and brutish
are-
world, said
well,
Hobbes, and
and-
we've become very brutish.
Let's just didn't our president call you a has-been? And I was thinking, who's gonna be the has-been now? Who's got the last laugh there?
Well, he's probably right, in a lot of respects he's right.
I
I went down there.
That's not the case.
They invited me to come down, meeting the Correspondents Association.
Right.
A year ago, last October, I think, when they closed the room temporarily and refurbished
Right.
it. And they said, Jim Brady's going to be here, and Jody Powell, and Marlon Fitzwater, and all your old people you... I said I'd come down. So I did, and I was in the back of the room, and President Bush came out, and he gave a nice little speech about how much he loved the press.
Yeah, right. You're the Texan. You understood him.
Right.